Hello, my name is Max Ruther, and this is my project for the Analytics IQ analysis assignment. So, for this project, I focused on the reading and gardening fields, on several of those. And going down here to the data description, I filtered for zip codes that are represented in the Chicago loop. So, zip codes 60601 through 60604, those are fully represented in the loop, and some zip codes that are only partially in the loop are 60605 through 60607, and then also 60616. So that is how I pulled from the Analytics IQ database. It's with those zip codes, and then I just chose reading and gardening features. Okay. Oh, I also chose this investment num resprop z4, but that doesn't really bear into my analysis. So I loaded the data from the file. There are 18,000 plus records and 15 features total. Here I'll slowly pan through kind of a header, a preview of that data frame. I next addressed some missing values. I counted how many fields were missing values and then how many rows showed at least one missing value. And I just dropped all rows that contained missing values. That brought the record count down sharply. It was a 48% reduction roughly. I made the zip code fields categorical. They were being identified as numerical before. And with that done, I leapt into the EDA. So I did some descriptive statistics here, looking at averages and standard deviations of the various numeric fields. Then I jumped into some correlation analysis. And I also have a function that's partly sourced or largely sourced from this medium.com contributor, Yatharth Ranjan. It helps me to identify some of the top correlations. I also added a piece that helps me identify groups of highly correlated variables. So I set the threshold for what's kind of a notable correlation as 0.3. That's the minimum. And then it's returned some. So here's some of the feedback. I won't go into this kind of messy feedback. I'll just go right into my discussion of the correlations. So there were a couple cases of perfectly correlated features. So LT book reader and LT ebook reader are perfectly correlated, like 1.0. As are gardening farm buyer and home gardener. So if I were to do any future analysis on these, I would leave at least one of these out for each of these pairs. And then there are also some very high correlations. The features for those reading groupings, those reading magazines, and reading generally, those are all highly correlated, with values ranging from 0.84 to 0.94. And then these features I mentioned here, they're also, those were moderately correlated with the gardening farm buyer feature, which is shown here to be equivalent to the home gardener feature. So I'll be looking into that in a bit more detail just later on. So here I do a pair plot of that home gardener attribute with these highly correlated reading features. So you can kind of see some of that high correlation. You can see it's a little weaker with the home gardener field to these reading ones. That's visible in these three. But for the reading to the reading, you see that sort of stronger linear correlation. Here's a pie chart showing the distribution of zip codes in my set right now. And then just to get kind of counts or maybe a stronger sense of how they count up, here's a bar chart kind of showing the same feature. So now I'm going to try and predict the home gardener feature from those reading ones that I looked at. These are all the features from the pairwise plot I just showed. So I identify the column names. I actually add in a couple other reading groups that weren't as strongly correlated, but I just wanted to cover, these are all the reading underscore and then, category features that were in that SQL database and the Analytics IQ data set, I should say. So I kind of take these to form the training data, and the labels are formed by that, or not labels, but the values that I'll be doing a regression analysis on are formed by this home gardener field. I check the shape of each of these to make sure that their counts of records match so that I can train a model successfully on those. I view after training that model, I view its coefficient of determination. It's only 22.21%. So I don't consider that particularly high. I consider it low even. Describing it as perhaps indicating that these reading features do not well explain the home gardener Z4 feature on their own. But I do have the caveat that 22.21% is enough to suggest that there's some kind of relationship. So that's just something to note, if a bit vague. And then lastly, I print the coefficients from the multiple linear regression equation from the model that I trained. So that's everything. Thanks for giving me a chance to check this stuff out, and I hope this was, I hope you got something out of this presentation. Thank you again for your time. Bye.